Hey guys, this is me and Ryan. Ryan and I were looking at a game a few weeks back, one of his games, and he used the term, I felt like I was controlling the game. I've heard that term so many times and I've never understood it at all. So we chatted about it, and turned out that he didn't mean much by it at the time. It was just something like a term he used. And we both started trying to come up with some ideas. So that's what this video is all about, is what have he and I come up with, and we might find examples. Okay. So you can see the board in front of us. This is that game he and I were looking at. It's white to play. And so let's look at a few things. First, white plays here. This is not Sente. Black doesn't have to fix. As long as black lives on the bottom and makes good on his A group, then he doesn't have to play the 0-point dame. He can have white play the 0-point dame. So you can pick up a whole move. So if black plays here, black is not controlling the game. But if black goes and does something active, takes control, as it were, specifically in a manner that is beneficial, I guess you can control the game to a bad place, but
yes, that's one of the things I came up with as well as I've been thinking about this.
Okay, so let's look here at what black did. First, white just got closer to this gap. Maybe white can do something there. Well, black plays Sente. All of a sudden, black's significantly thicker here. In Sente, next, we're going to be killing the corner. So we just fix that bottom area in Sente. So that exchange, we controlled it by not responding to our benefit. Okay. So our next thought, we can continue controlling, saying, if you cut me, I think the bottom area is going to be fine, and I'm just going to go about bothering that white stone, and my left side group is certainly going to be more, it's going to be healthier than the single white stone. So that would be 2 steps of control.
That's what I should have done.
So Ryan, so let's start there. Did I make sense? What's your agreement, disagreement? Let's start there.
Yeah, I fully agree with this example. I think there's other examples earlier in the game too, where at this point I already felt like the game was really good for me for several reasons. But yeah, just limiting it to kind of this left side and this corner thing, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. I guess another one would be here, saying not only do I want this area thick, but I actually want points there, and you can't cut me because of your own troubles. So that would be another example. Okay. Now,
I guess this is basically what you said, but part of the reason it sort of takes control, right, is that white played that move at e6, obviously hoping that it was going to do something and be worth something, right? Every stone we play, like that's the point. And if black can get away with just nullifying all threats, and then that A stone is just sitting there, and white's like,
just sitting there doing nothing,
right? Yeah. It's like just falling further and further behind if that happens.
Yeah. Okay, boom, boom. He fixes. He and I both agreed that, you know,
it was one of the worst moves of the game for me.
Yeah, but less than perfect. Okay. Now, a Q player is going to think, hey, I did this because I wanted to not get disconnected. But notice white's the one in control here. Getting thickness for a center group, because right, the center group isn't even alive yet until white does this. White is gaining health and points all in Sente. White controlled the game. And black said, oh, come on down. I'll just connect through. Okay, so black ended up getting all of these points. I would say that none of these were really black's. I don't know how many to mark, but black's making points on the bottom. He's getting security. And when it comes to his A group, he already connected a B. And that group is thick. So it's kind of like this black move means they're both safe, and black has taken more points on the bottom than he would have originally, I think. Nearly. I think it's more.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more. I do think that I at least according to AI, likely made some missteps here, though, and white actually had some opportunities there to potentially take control himself. So,
yeah.
For example, like basically white answered exactly how I wanted, right? So I did the
You have
peep
control if you want to show anything.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, so I did this peep, which is kind of like a force before fixing sort of thing, right? I could just play here, but it's nice to get this exchange in before I fix. But white can try and take control as well, right? Well, okay, well, what about this, buddy? Right? Like now, okay, I fix, but at least now there's stuff white can do. There's like a push and a cut, maybe, or there's something here he can do later. Same here, like when I played this, and actually, if I remember, I think AI just thinks this is the best locally. So there's examples where you can try to take control and you're actually just giving yourself trouble. Right?
Yeah. But now we know that when
he could, he could do something like this as well, right? Like this is going to put more pressure.
Yeah.
Than this, for example. So there's some. I think white let me off the hook basically, and there was some
sure
where he could have.
We know when we watch high level play, black will play suggesting, oh, this game is going to go the way I want it to. But then white finds a move that says, no, it's not going to do that at all. As a matter of fact, it's going in my direction. And
yeah, exactly.
And it's not a fight over points. It's a fight over who's controlling the game, who's going to get what they want. So we're not concerned about what AI says, because that's not the subject, or could you have played better? But thanks for pointing it out. And we're just going to look at a few other examples here. It's a strange move for white. So another loss of tempo for white. Little hard to know exactly. I think white's concerned about any, some oddity here, right?
There's weakness around F5. Yeah, I don't know that his move that he had to play that solid. Right. But I think like his other option would be to play around like the E10, E9 area, and basically just like pressing from further away from the single.
Yeah. And you might be able to, take charge.
Or something like that. Yeah.
There's nothing you can do here anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So here we have an example of white missing a tempo. We could step up, start taking control. How's this game going to go? And this move instead just offers it back to black. Yeah. And black says, great, it's going to go by, I'm defending myself as I attack you. Okay, I think there was one other example here. Okay, nice points on the left, all connected up. cute Tsuji there. And fix. And that is officially Black's connected with points. White, again, does a questionable tempo. And then Black starts in with phase 2. Okay, so I just want to restate this idea. When this concept of controlling the game, we start talking about it, I've heard it so much and I knew so little about it. I just wanted to learn more. So kind of my conclusion was local skirmishes, that you're not looking whole board, you're looking at locally, how can I get more here that doesn't hurt me too much elsewhere? That sort of question. I hate using that definition, but that's kind of like as close as I got. It's just seeing a better exchange for myself than him. And that's a question to you. Did that make sense? Can you rephrase it?
I think that's too local. I think that's only like part of it. So maybe we now would be a good time to get into just kind of all the notes I jotted down.
Please.
So my attempt at a definition for controlling the game is influencing the overall flow, pace, and direction of the game, basically. And so just to kind of distill that down or summarize it, in general, the opponent is reacting to your moves instead of the other way around. But obviously, as you discussed, there's much more to it than that, right? Because we've all seen the Q games where, well, this is sente, 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 right? But they're all bad exchanges. So
yeah.
It's not enough for, if you're answering all my moves, but all of them are gains for you, you're not really controlling anything, right? Even though your opponent has to answer. And on the other hand, I also think you definitely can be winning a game without necessarily controlling it, right? Just because you're winning the game doesn't mean you're controlling the game. You might be ahead, but you haven't necessarily strongly influenced, like, this is how the game is going to play out. And what may be more useful is I just listed a bunch of things that I think are related to this concept. And because there's so many different facets of it, I think that's why it's difficult to tie in. And actually, if I could take control and maybe use this game.
You have it, yeah.
As an example. So let's actually go back to the beginning. So even like from the beginning here, right? Like, as we know, Black has like the first move advantage, and even back to like the Edo period games with Shusaku, right? Like, we would have White playing like this because, right, of this sort of control thing, right? The idea that, I don't want Black to get out of control, so I gotta do this sort of thing. And then Shusaku came up with this move, which then allows him to,
this brings back memories. This is how Ghosts be played, folks.
But yeah, I was thinking about that, and I was like, really, I think this control aspect, that really is what was happening back then when there's no Komi. And then today, we have a really big Komi, right? So now what I'm hearing from stronger players is like, oh man, when you're Black, like the Komi is so big, I need to figure it. Like, I need to do something that is going to get me 7 whole extra points or 8 extra points, depending on the tournament that it is, right? And so in this game, I create this thing on the right. I'm playing Black here, so White is definitely incentivized to come in, right? And then immediately it's like, okay, here's this thing you have to deal with, right? And so one of the things I had written down was, okay, you have a big area that they need to deal with, right? That is going to put some onus on them. Like, they need to come in, they need to figure out how to deal with the situation. I put down strength of groups, especially weak groups. Plants, you know this very well, right? If there's a weak group which allows you to get free profit while you're attacking, you're basically dictating the flow, right? because
Yeah.
I play here, you must answer. You have a weak group. Maintaining Sente is huge, and that's kind of what happened in this game. We'll see in a second. I'll recap. Particularly if there's something very important to do, and like a fight starts, like getting Sente out of that, right, might be much more important than getting the best possible local result. It's like, I'm going to finish this thing good enough, and then I'm going to get to the important thing. And then like there's some things that it gets a bit more nuanced. So pushing the game into situations that are more comfortable for you and more difficult for the opponent.
Yeah.
And this is actually something that came up recently in the Younguseng Dojang lectures. Insung pointed out, I had never really thought of it before, but he was sharing some variations, and he pointed out, like, basically he's suggesting that this is like an opening formation you can try. Here are some variations, and his point was it's even, but from his perspective, he feels like as black, maybe the moves are pretty obvious. You have to play like 5 Q moves to get a good result. But as white, you might have to play like 5 Dawn moves to get a result. Right? So like the board is even, but that doesn't mean like there are situations in Go where there can just be way more pressure on your opponent, right? For example, if you have a big area that has Aji in it, and why not? I'll just cut and come in and try to do something with the Aji, right? If nothing works, nothing works. I haven't lost any, right? But for you, you're sitting there like sweating bullets trying to figure it out. So like that also is this form of control, because there's like a psychological pressure as well. I know, Lance, you said that this move you've never really like known how to handle it exactly. So something like that could exert control, right? If you're playing against a particular player. If I know this really well, and let's say we play Joseki perfectly, and we get an even result, I might know it's even, and you don't know it's even, right? And you're worried the rest of the game, like, was that, did I get an okay result there, or am I behind? Let's see.
So we're kind of saying that controlling the game is a lot more than just, I'm going to take control for a second. Okay, black took points. Black took Sente. Black controlled the situation. What was his benefit? Well, he either got an important Sente, or he got to follow through with his original plan. But your idea, you're saying, yeah, that may be true, but this time, what the pinch, black has 2 problems. How do I deal with my stone, and how do I deal with black's Moyo? So you can control for numerous effects, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, and I think like the one path is just much easier than the other path, right? So like, and this gets into, if we look at AI, it's not going to suggest Q7 as the best move. It's almost always it's going to answer at like P4, right, or R4. The pincers are kind of like an exception at this point, but we're human players, right? And so if I study like the pinch, like it's going to be like a fractions of a point worse from AI's perspective, maybe, but it puts a lot more pressure on white. And actually, could I take control?
Yeah, here it comes.
And so basically what happened, because these are variations that I'm studying purposefully. And so for instance, like here, I know that white is supposed to come into the corner and make this exchange at this point, because already white can't be surrounded. And so it's like, okay, I'm gaining steam just a little bit. But here, actually, I think is a really one of the best examples from this game. This move was like extremely slack for white. and allowed me to just even further take control, right? Because and actually it's funny, the KGS AI is suggesting it as well. Like, white needs to handle this problem in Sente and then needs to get over to here, right?
Yeah.
And instead he played this, and it's like, oh wow, like you just completely lost control there. I feel like, right? And then what ends up happening from here, I'll skip over the details, but if you look at the left side of the board right now, white has the C stone, the D stone. I play away, end up getting Sente again, and now it's like I'm the one that played first in the lower left corner too, right? That was supposed to be his corner. Next thing he knows, he's got this weak stone that he's having to deal with, and it just kind of continues to where, then I'm pressing this low, which, as we know, is like almost always good for the player on the outside from an AI perspective. And so, like, once it got to here, I'm just looking at it, right? And it's like, okay, so I got extra benefit in this corner due to like a Joseki mistake. The B group, there's more stuff that can happen there. Like, obviously, I have C Sente, which is going to help me build more. But white looks pretty over-concentrated to me. Then I got all these points on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then if we look at what white had at the beginning, this corner got flattened. This corner is going to be what, 6 points, 7 points? And then the only other thing he has to his name are these stones in the middle, and it's like, well, how do you use those?
Yeah.
I don't know, right? Meanwhile, I've got these points. I've got a good thing going on here against F, and my Shamari in the upper left is completely untouched. And, in the back of my mind, I know that I also have this at some point. And I can make it bigger, however I decide to do it. So, just like a culmination. And like, I'm just like imagining if I'm white, like, what was it, like here, get to this point, and then now like he's having to worry about this whole thing that's going on over here. From white's perspective, this game was just like constantly having to deal with problems, right? Like he never had a chance to do anything he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I think it just kind of turned out that way, this game, mostly because I think he allowed things to go pretty easy for me. I obviously cannot make this happen every game, or I'm a much stronger player, but it's kind of how it turned out.
Okay. So I think what we're going to do next is Ryan and I are going to play a simple game. I'm going to try to play more simply than him. And he's not prepared to do this. We don't have a lot of definition under our belts to move forward, but he's going to explore out loud ways he might control the game, what that's like, how he might think about it. So let's get rid of this.
Maybe you'll end up controlling the game. We'll see.
I'll make a point out to not. And then private, lots of time if we need it. Yeah. Now I'm just winging this, but I have an idea that this would be better. That's my guess. Let's see if I'm right. So I made a point of putting, no. You have white, not me. Let's try that again.
Are you going to make it harder for me, huh?
It'll be more obvious to them. Private, control, teaching. And then if you can put on 2 stones and take white.
Let's see, how do I do that?
Because it comes up way more in handicap games. Controlling the game. What does that mean? How do you do that?
Is that right?
Stones, you're white. Okay.
Just funny because actually recently I've been having much more difficulty giving like 1 cues 2 stones than I have been just playing even against 3 dots. It's like why are these 1 cues playing so good?
Yeah. Okay. And if you see something, you might verbalize what you see, what your plan is.
Yeah, so normally here I think I would just it's like I think handicap games are kind of a weakness for me, but in general, I have like if it's only 2 stones, I'll kind of try and play normal.
Uh-huh.
And so I might not do anything special in this case, but given that we are trying to do a control sort of thing, I'm immediately thinking about like jumping out, right? Might be effective in a handicap game because then I can start more of like a fighting sort of situation.
Um,
But I'm
that might
trying
be
to,
over the top. I assume you'd regularly go 3-3. Let's do
yeah,
that because I think that's going to promote, going to show some extra kind of control. I guess I want to have something to say about it too. So let's
yeah.
go in that direction for the moment.
I actually even think that the move that you played, in a sense, is exercising a certain amount of control.
Okay. If I'm white here, I love this on a few levels. First, I have points, which I love. I have life. He can't attack me. Next thing I love as white is that black group is not what it should be. When I see that, the word control pops into my head.
Mm.
If he tries to build a Moyo, he can't do that. It's bad Aji. I'll come in. If he doesn't, I'll use that. So I'm in control because his group isn't right. Okay, my move, I assume here. I'm trying to play moves that like a 2Q would make.
Yeah, I think there's certain openings where it just kind of plays out more or less normal, and I just feel like it's a normal game. I don't necessarily know, am I ahead, am I behind? It feels about even. And there's other ones where it's more definite, right? So it's almost like more one of those I know it when I see it sort of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean um, it's easy to always create interesting. Yeah.
There's a feeling that black's starting to control the center and the top. Let's see what he does about that. This is all obviously good for white, but I don't think it quite it's what we're looking for yet.
Yeah.
Now, I assume you've been looking at 018.
Yeah, I don't know the right timing. I feel like
I see.
if I played it directly, I'm not sure if that might actually end up badly for me.
Now,
It's definitely possible.
yeah. Now, I would say that 018 is very much what we are talking about. When you play that, black is officially weak, and you can start taking control of things. If I respond right now, I'll be fine, and you'll have a group in the center without eyes. So can we try the other one?
Yeah, sure.
If you don't mind.
Oh, I
think,
guess the best
yeah.
one to do.
Wow, that is so painful. I don't even know what to do. Very painful.
Hmm. I'm considering whether it makes sense to play the Atari.
So for viewers, check out what's developing here. Black is developing a weak group. That's where the control comes in. White might decide to give up a fair chunk of what he's got just because black's group is so much bigger to chase. I'm not saying he's going to. I'm just saying there's a perspective on controlling the game here. Let's see what Ryan comes up with. Okay, so I'm thinking the control is over now. Black's pretty strong. So let's make this enough, and then let's look at some stuff here. Can you pass me control? Since only the white stones
yeah,
do that.
that's right.
So if you can pass me control. So let's look at it from Atari.
Yeah, what happens here?
Well, let's start with this move and then this. Okay, now let's look at what happened. The A group did not connect through, didn't do anything. White's quite healthy. I think black B now. Wrong button, just a second. And he has a one-eye group, and we're in the center, we're everywhere.
Could black have played M16 instead earlier? That's the only concern that I would have.
So like here.
M16.
M16.
And then yeah, and then connect on the outside, I guess, like
M. But now black has two weak groups.
Yeah.
Now let's not get into the best way this may or may not work, but rather I'm starting better and better here to get a feeling of what it means to control the game. Now, I love doing this in handicap games. I play a lot of handicap games.
Right. Yeah.
And they leave a weakness, and I'm like, I'm sorry. And then it's just my game from the early because I press the weakness.
That's your the imagination thing too in handicap games.
Yeah.
Something I need to work on.
Yeah,
because I can't see the crazy pictures you come up with. I'm like, there's no way that's going to be weak.
And it happens all the time, yeah.
50 moves later, yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully viewers got some idea of what the term means and how they might use it. I set a low bar just trying to get a general idea for myself and hopefully for some viewers. And I may have hit the low bar I was striving for. And so we'll just call it quits there. Any last remarks, Ryan?
No, this was fun. Thanks for inviting me on. You know, as more games come up, if there's more good examples, maybe we could have more of these when things become clear.
If this starts becoming part of our Go, I'm sure we'll do more. I don't think it will, because I've been playing Go a long time and I haven't yet.
Oh, the one thing that occurred to me was I didn't mention this, but I had written it down somewhere. Is like you know, Go is like a conversation, right? They say like hand talk, and the stronger you get, the more of a sense you get for what your opponent is saying with his stones, right? And you can start to get an idea of like what he's trying to do, right? And that's what pros are constantly, right? Well, he wants me to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And then you had players like Lee Chang-ho who, the amazing thing was people would play him and they would say, everything went exactly how I wanted.
Yeah.
How did I lose? Right.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing. And I think part of controlling the game is that sort of thing, but that also gets into some level of like plans. And I know you're not a big fan of plans,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that could be part of it. For myself, I don't feel like I make a whole lot of plans, but there's like just the specifics of the boards, right? It's like, okay, it seems like he's trying to do this. Um, Maybe I can play this asking move that will throw a wrench in that.
Yeah.
It doesn't go much beyond that, but
Yeah.
yeah, this was fun.
Okay, good. Well, viewers, we'll see you later. Thank you, Ryan, and goodbye.
Cheers.